Good evening. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Showman. On the program tonight, as cases begin to soar once again of COVID, the Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray reads the Riot Act. There could be a lockdown across the state if the numbers keep going up. And there will be clarity on this between 8 to 15 days. Meanwhile, in some parts of the state, Amravati, for example, there's already a lockdown in place till the 1st of March. In Pune, the positivity rate has been galloping. All this in the midst of official statements that mutant strains of the virus may already be making their presence in the state. What mutant strains? Indian or foreign ones? How deadly are these? How transmissible? We have the best people in India on our panel tonight to look at this, including Dr. V.K. Paul of the Niti Aayog, Dr. Shashank Joshi, member of the COVID Task Force in Maharashtra, and Dr. Hemant Deshmukh, the Dean of KEM Hospital in Mumbai. But first, let me go across to Dr. V.K. Paul. Good evening, Dr. Paul. As usual, so many questions asked, some by me, some by our viewers. And so we'll just go one by one to try and provide our viewers information, which is really what the goal is. So the first question is this. Is the new mutant strain discovered in Maharashtra indigenous, or is this a foreign strain?
Well, Vishnu, I think we should wait for official statements on this. As you know, since the advent and the potential advent of the UK strain in other countries, we have ramped up our capabilities for sequencing of the COVID-19 virus. We have set up a network of very powerful world-class laboratories already existent in the country and strengthened them to look at the new strains and to do massive range of sequencing of the virus that would be found in our country. Based on this, it is our understanding that at the moment there is no evidence to suggest that these outbreaks are related to any particular mutant to which these could be attributed. But that we are watching it constantly, and we are reviewing the situation very regularly. Yes, when a situation arises in which a quiescent pandemic then suddenly escalates in a particular region as an outbreak, then one must consider several factors, including the social behavior, other factors that change the behavior of the virus, say season, in that case that may or may not be operating. We also keep in mind, could this be a variant which is now more transmissible? I think these questions are in mind and systematically being approached. Let's wait and watch. At the same time, take every measure to contain this outbreak in particular regions of our country.
So, Dr. Paul, again, just on the basis of what we know so far, the second question, are there differences in the mutant strains which have been discovered so far in Maharashtra? I believe there are 2 or 3 in different regions.
Vishnu, as I said, the virus is mutating all the time. You heard this on this podium from different people. Virus has the nature to naturally mutate into different variants to an extent. Whether that variant causes excess transmissibility or does it confer any other particular advantage to the virus, that needs to be related to the clinical situation, the pandemic situation. That's an investigation which is a deep investigation. I would not like to comment on the attribution of what you're hearing, by way of this kind of information. We have a network which is, being backed by by West Laboratory and also a scientific advisory group of the highest level of our scientists is watching this situation.
Okay, so again, would it be fair to say, or would it be unfair to say at this stage that the increased COVID count in parts of Maharashtra is directly linked to these mutant strains?
I would definitely not say that at this stage. I would say that this virus was lurking all the time in our country. I would say that a large proportion of our people are still vulnerable, going by the Sero surveys. And particularly, we are also aware that now that the pandemic has had a very intense phase in large cities, the more dense cities, it is obvious that the pandemic would move to somewhat smaller cities. And that also has to be kept in mind. So all the possible reasons of this outbreak, which of course is a signal for us to be very cautious and continue to be very watchful, all the reasons for such an outbreak should be kept in mind, and we go back to the control of the pandemic through the rule book, through which we were able to control the pandemic in a very significant way. So we must make those efforts doubly serious.
Are some of the new mutant strains, on the basis of what we've seen and their structure, more transmissible?
Again, I would wait for the opinion of the scientific advisory group of INSA-CoG, which is a collaborative that I've been referring to, and we should wait for that to be stated at that point in time.
When will we get a statistic on how much more transmissible the new mutant strains are, if indeed they are? Tell us about the group you were mentioning and the scientific process for figuring this out.
As I said, that we set up a collaborative in December when the UK variant became visible in UK, and of course found evidence that it could spread to other nations. We know that that strain has entered our country. We know that also the South African strain, some cases have been found, and even the Brazilian. This was made evident. But I think to guess beyond that at this moment is not appropriate. We should not cause panic at all. Very serious scientific effort by the top laboratories and top scientists is watching this situation, and it will be clarified as the data emerges.
And so therefore, given the situation in Maharashtra now, whether it is from these new strains or it's perhaps even the existing dominant strain, the fact is the numbers have gone up. That's absolutely clear. So should there be restrictions on air and rail transport going forward?
Firstly, we have been fighting this pandemic through other four pillars, namely our appropriate behavior and our strategy of testing, and testing that then leads to isolation of cases, quarantine of contacts and containment, and then of course our preparedness in terms of looking after the patients, looking after the individuals who have the disease. We must intensify these efforts like we have done in the past. We must also remember that right now it is just the early upswing, so to say, and it is easier to control pandemic in the earlier situation than when it reaches a much higher level of intensity. So we must intensify our effort and keep in mind the option of containment, option of restrictions as required. But the fundamentals of pandemic control need to be invoked and need to be intensified and never forgotten. This virus has not yet gone away. Today, it is an issue in some district. Tomorrow, it could be some other districts. This is a warning to us that our vigil and our effort, which has stood the test of time, must never be lowered.
Or rather, will any of the vaccines we have presently, or some of those coming online, will they work on the new mutant strains should these become a problem for us?
Vishnu, what we know is the following. We know that Covishield continues to work in UK strain. There are some doubts whether it will have a poor efficiency for the South African. The jury is still out. We have demonstrated in the lab that Covaxin, the ICMR vaccine, ICMR Bharat Biotech vaccine, works against the UK mutant strain as well. That's the information that we have. We are working on other virus isolates and to see efficacy of the vaccines on those strains. This is another work which is in progress in our laboratories.
Dr. Paul, when should COVID cases here onwards be sequenced, or should they be sequenced to see if they are of these new mutant strains? I'm asking you about protocol going forward.
Well, the protocol is already in operations, and it is our intent to sequence as many as 5% of the isolates in a systematic way across the country. And that's why these labs have been set up in different regions of the country, and they have been assigned various areas from where these isolates will move to these laboratories. So a very massive effort, as many as 5% of the isolates will be tested for mutations, and are being tested for mutations.
Okay.
Yes.
Dr. Paul, when will the private sector be able to vaccinate citizens, particularly those above the age of 50?
Well, presently also, Vishnu, the private sector has been so eminently involved in the vaccination program for the healthcare workers as well as the frontline workers. Out of 10,000 sessions, let's say on a given day, 2,000 sessions are being conducted by our private sector partners, and they have done such a splendid work. And as we move to a much speedier vaccination program, amazingly speedier vaccination program as we move to the next phase, the private sector engagement would be deeper and wider. We will be coming forth those guidelines and we'll be unveiling this program pretty soon.
How soon would that be, sir?
In a matter of a few days. Just wait, and I assure you that private sector will play a very, very important role to augment the speed and the reach of our vaccination program, even as the public sector would be engaged very, very deeply and intensely. It's a partnership of both public and the private sector. India, since the days of Ayushman Bharat PMJ, is one health system. Public and private is one partnership, one system, one health system of India.
And you said in the next few days, right?
Yes.
You would have an announcement.
Yes.
All right. Dr. Paul, lot of interest in vaccines. Now, when will the Sputnik vaccine be cleared? Is there any way to speed up the vaccination process for under 50 citizens? So it's a combined sort of question because Sputnik has applied for emergency use authorization. And so the question which was brought in is by somebody concerned about under 50s. So how would you answer that?
Well, firstly, we are very happy that Sputnik has applied. Dr. Reddy's laboratory, on behalf of the initiative, has applied for authorization, and let that process unfold in coming days. And you know that we undertake this process very expeditiously because we want as many vaccine options being made available to our people as possible. And therefore, we welcome this move and we are excited about this move. And once that decision is taken, I also know that in parallel, there are a few companies, a couple of 2 or 3 companies with which they have arrangement to start manufacturing this particular vaccine in our country. So I look forward to these developments. I hope these emergency authorization will come soon. And I do also hope, even more excitingly, that they will give licensure and not only give licensure, but start manufacturing this particular vaccine in our country in large amounts, because larger the volume available to us as stockpile, speedier will be our coverage of the vaccination program for our people. On this question of people below 50 years, Vishnu, the whole thinking is the following, that we are targeting first and foremost those people who are most vulnerable to suffer from the ill effects of COVID-19 and ultimately, the risk of mortality. And yes, under 50 years also, there are people who have a higher risk of such propensity. And that typically is when they have other diseases, such as cancer or kidney failure or liver disease, heart disease, valvular disease, and so on. And that categorization of those conditions, criteria to be used for those conditions has been settled, has been finalized by a committee. How such people would apply to be listed for vaccination, that procedure has also been set up, and it will be also made public very soon. Please remember, Vishnu, we are into the vaccination program for only about 6-7 weeks.
Yeah.
And this phase was very critical, to cover those priority groups who are our shield against the onslaught of the pandemic.
Right.
And also this phase was very critical in ensuring a systematic process of delivering the vaccine into the, right to the grassroots level.
Yeah.
All these objectives have been achieved. More than 1 crore people have received vaccine. So the vaccine acceptance has risen by the day. We have also seen another aspect, and that is a huge gain. Today we can say with huge confidence that the vaccines that we have are safe.
Right.
1 crore plus people have taken the vaccines, one or the other, and we know no death, no question of death,
All
hardly
right.
any hospitalization in a few numbers. And you get minimal side effects such as mild fever for one person out of 2,000. 0.05%
Right.
people have some side effect. It's
So
the
that's
safest
right.
safest
Right.
contingent of vaccine that we are dealing with.
Which is
Now that
wonderful
we
news.
have this confidence, we are
Yeah.
moving very quickly into a rapid escalation phase of vaccination.
Dr. Paul, great to get answers from you on all of those questions. Thank you so much for speaking to us once again. Well, we're going to focus a little bit now on the Maharashtra situation. Joining us, Dr. Shashank Joshi, the member of the COVID Task Force, and Dr. Hemant Deshmukh. Dr. Joshi, let me come to you first. Do you believe that the increase in numbers in, say, Amravati or Yavatmal is directly linked to the new mutant strains which are being reported, or it's because people aren't following the rules?
So let me put it in a perspective. The first thing is that why did this mutant strain come out? There was a central team which visited Maharashtra a couple of weeks back, and they told to upscale the genomic surveillance, including medical colleges. And at the BJ Medical College, a microbiology team which have a genome sequencer from patients from Amravati found that from 4 patients, there was a strain, which is the E384 strain, from 1 patient of 440N from the Yavatmal and 1 strain from Satara. And then they have handed over these samples to the NIV and the National Institute for Cell Sciences for further elaboration. So that actually made us get a needle that there's a probability of a mutant strain. Now, why did scientists and public health experts start thinking of a mutant strain? Because suddenly we found that Vidarbha is a less exposed area to COVID, including Amravati and Akola region. And suddenly in Amravati, we found a test positivity rate of 53%. Now that's a very large number. So that actually brought the spotlight on Amravati. And obviously, there was a very rapid upscale of numbers. Obviously, the denominator was small.
Right.
So from a scientific standpoint, that made the suspicion that there's a potential possibility and probability of a mutant strain. And it is undergoing a due process, as Dr. Paul has said. It will take its own time. Yeah. Second thing which is important is in public health, people in smaller areas and rural India forgot that there is something called COVID and they started normal life without masking. And that is completely unacceptable.
No, across the country, doctor, it's now gotten to a stage when, people have just stopped listening, and governments, quite frankly, across India have at some stage not been following up. It's a problem in India. Let's face it. We all see it all around us.
Absolutely. But you need to understand that in these smaller areas, if there is no total disregard to COVID inappropriate behavior, we need to ensure that we need to educate them, and we need to do also what has happened. One more thing, Vishnu, you need to understand is the community testing had dropped down. People who got a little flu-like illness, there was a cold season, there were Gram Panchayat elections 1 month back. People, even for a small cough and cold, did not do a COVID test in the community. Only hospitalized patients were getting COVID testing done. So the testing had dramatically dropped down, the masking had dramatically dropped down, and probably there is a possibility of a mutant strain. All these factors combined, we saw a surge coming up in Amravati and Akola region. And you can see that various metros of Maharashtra, whether it is Mumbai, Nagpur, Pune, are now also seeing almost doubling of cases. There the reasons are more public health related. For example, in Mumbai, we know that the local strains, the traffic in local trains from 20 lakhs has gone up to almost 35 lakhs. So that's one possibility.
Right. And
again, lack of COVID inappropriate behavior is there. It's unlikely to be a mutant strain there. It is again reasserting our standard protocols for COVID, which need to be maintained, and we need to go back to containment again.
Got it. I want to go across to Dr. Deshmukh. If you look at the little that we know of these mutant strains right now, it's there's the part of the virus which governs transmission, which is different, the protein cell, right? The protein part of the virus, right? And it somehow evades the impact of vaccines. Is that what we have learned so far, Dr. Deshmukh, on what we have seen in Maharashtra so far?
Vishnu, good evening. You are talking about a strain which has been mutated, and we are here talking about a strain which after mutation the subject gets vaccinated, but we are not able to isolate the virus after the vaccination has been taken place. And so there is no question of, isolating the virus after the mutation. What we are doing is we are isolating samples from say 5% of the patients. And these there has been a flurry of activity in the labs across India for doing a genome sequencing of the novel coronavirus activity. And we are going to check these samples whether they are positive for the mutated virus or no, the mutations that are taking place. And so these vaccinations which are happening, either the Covishield or the Covaxin, the safety is of paramount importance, and these are acting against the mutation of the viruses also which have been found in India.
Dr. Joshi, as I understand it, please correct me if I'm wrong, it's the spike cell component of the virus that actually governs transmission. Is there evidence to suggest that what we have seen in the mutations in Maharashtra so far actually make that transmission process more difficult, easier?
So I'll just make a small clarification. There are 240 plus Indian strains which have been seen over the last 1 year. Of them, there is one particular strain which may increase the suspicion for increased transmissibility, as Dr. Paul was suggesting, which is the E384 strain, which is probably similar to the UK strain. It's probably an inborn strain, but as I said, on 4 cases, to attribute it and cause a cause-effect relationship is premature.
Correct.
At the same time, the rapidity at which the transmission occurred in Amravati raises a very high needle of suspicion. And based on that, it is possible that this strain can have something called as immune escape. That means the ability to mount a neutralizing antibodies less. Now, that should not spread panic or fear.
No, not at all.
The official bodies confirm it. But yes, one mutant may be a problem mutant. Rest of it appear to be the standard de novo mutants. And every virus, whether it's a flu virus, coronavirus, influenza virus, keeps mutating. This is actually a slow mutating virus.
Right.
So I think the mutant word should not scare us.
Right.
Second, two things, Vishnu, I want to very quickly tell. The COVID due to a mutant strain and a regular COVID is the same. And neither is it more lethal. It is only more transmissible.
And that's been the case around the world. No, a point taken, and that's so important. Dr. Deshmukh, from a scientific standpoint and a statistical standpoint, when would we be in a position in Maharashtra or elsewhere to say that there is a direct link between this one very problematic or potentially problematic mutant strain and greater transmissibility? Statistically, would you look for 1,000 samples, 2,000 samples? Who measures, who does the sequencing? How long does it take to sequence? When will we get an answer saying yes or no?
Vishnu, there has been a great flurry of activity among the laboratories in the entire country for genome sequencing. But the rapidity with which the genome sequences happens is quite slow. And we will not be able to actually isolate at a much earlier stage which mutant is causing what type of clinical importance. But you should understand that when a mutant virus is causing COVID, the rapidity with which the complications happen is, almost 50% more rapidly happening, which simply means that within a period of 2 days or 48 hours, the pneumonia or the lower respiratory tract infection becomes so critical that these patients, if they are not moved into a critical care facility, they may actually lose their life for the simple reason that they have to rush to a nearest COVID center as early as possible. And it is, Vishnu, you know that sequencing cannot happen to all samples in the entire country.
No, not at all,
but max would be almost 5% of the cases can be sequenced at present. And I don't think we have the facility, Vishnu, to do genome sequences of the entire sample which we get henceforth, either from central Maharashtra, Yavatmal or Amravati, or maybe from Bombay also.
All right. I'd like to thank you both very much for joining us. I think what the Chief Minister of Maharashtra said today was the most basic and the most important thing. If people don't follow social distancing, if they don't mask up once again, then this is a situation that's going to get potentially very, very dangerous. The last thing Maharashtra needs is lockdown across larger parts of the state. Indeed, that's the last thing that any one of us all across India need. I'd like to thank you all very much for being with us. I'm out of time. Goodbye.